Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I'm joined once again by Demosthenes.
Folks, I'm excited to share a bit more of this Cold Rhaga playthrough with you all.
So last episode, Bogarus is dead, had a little bump with Patalo, and we're getting into like buckling down for some eco. And hilariously, Lemuria survived another turn, though he's gotten all of his consuls killed off and a Grand Lemur and a Timu. Did he finally put his stuff on advance and cast? It's the only thing I care about.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons, like the reason people are like, okay, the reason Atlantis is good against Lemur is because of magic weapons. And it's like, yeah, but the other main reason is because they have death mages. Like if you only have magic weapons, but you don't have death mages, you don't do that great. They're not on advanced cast. God damn it.
Fan.
For shame. Oh, your Godwall Cup.
And that's a little bit surprised because it's only turn 32.
Mm-hmm.
And because I only have Nature 1 mages, I'm going to do a Thistle Mace first. But
Yeah.
that guy's that Griffin
Start
guy
doing
is one of the
higher
national
specs.
heroes from War of the Heroes.
Yeah.
I guess one other thing to mention, the up north of my capital, I finally found an Earth Mage that I can recruit. I'm building a fort there
Oh,
too.
cool.
So it's got
Oh, these
both
are really good units.
it's really a really good unit, and it's my only Earth access
Yeah.
so far, other than my Pretender. So
That's awesome.
um,
Yeah, you got to have that
we're
palisade
gonna
up to
be
get a
putting a.
resource.
I'm probably going to put a Citadel up there, just like I did in
Yeah.
the Swampies of it, because I just want a lot of
Right.
that diversity. They're so cheap too. So
Yeah. Let's see what our Temple Gem income situation is. Since there's not much to talk about this turn except like strategy, right? This isn't going to be like an event turn. We're just going to brainstorm.
So we're at 6 temples, and you can see that it says 5 fire jumps per month. So I actually didn't know this until I started this game and read the screen, after I'd already submitted my Pretender and started up. But you get 1 fire gem per temple, but it's limited by your dominion.
Mhm.
So so I'm going to get, if I get up to 10 temples, it'll go up to 6.
Right.
It's a very healthy fire gem increase. But, that might be one reason where with this sort of build, it could have been worth going to, a Dominion 6 Pretender rather than Dominion 5, is to leave up to 2 free fire gems per turn. One, I'm only getting up to this level at turn 30. So, because the temples are so
Right.
expensive.
Or taking like a Dompour
Yeah.
Mobile and getting up to really high
Yeah.
dominion. Okay.
Yeah. So I grabbed this throne. I'm actually not sure that this was a good idea. I was gambling for it being the throne of the Iron Order because that's one of the 3 thrones that are remaining, and I would really love to get those Earth 2 mages.
Ooh. You're
But
at four
that is an
thrones.
action which taking that 4th throne has some risk for me. I think in terms of
I would start diplomacying hard against you at this point. I don't think a flying nation can be allowed to have 4 out of 6 thrones and be in position
So
to win.
one option I'm actually considering is whether I want to offer to, a nation like Atlantis, whether they want to grab that throne in order to sort of limit that diplomacy issue. Because but I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good throne for me. It's +1 magic skills, which is
Yeah. I would probably offer it to
pretty
Atlantis
significant.
instead of Patala. Patala seems to be more diplomatically irregular.
Exactly. So anyway, so that's one of the decisions that I'm trying to make is whether I, sorry, it's the moon. It's not actually, it just adds 3 more precision to my blast, which will give my mages a total of like +6 precision, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's not critical.
Right.
The other thing is that my southwest fort, I've finally gotten that up to a citadel and at the far west. No, the further west, but on the far south, where the Draconians are.
Hmm.
Far west, next to the gas throne, 2 south of there.
Okay, sorry. I'm blind. Oh, it didn't
So
have your
this one I
dominion.
built up
I
to
was
citadel.
being blind.
And the reason is that this is the only place where I'm bordering a Heat Nation throne, where I know that their dominion pressure is going to sit hot at all times. So if you look, I'm recruiting to not the turn sorcerers, but my Dasters.
Right.
And those guys are nicer than the turn sorcerers, even though they're a lower path commander in 2 ways. One is that they're only 2 commander points, so you can make a lot more of them. But the other is that they're not grievously old, and they don't have a heat aura, which can light all of your blood slaves on fire and so on. So my plan is to sort of build enough of these guys to make a sort of Wailing Winds and Banefire Communion for whatever war with gas that I have in the future.
I mean, they're probably
Um,
also by far and away your better choice for blood hunting.
yeah, exactly. They're also going to be my blood economy. They cost the same amount of gold to recruit as the turn sorcerers, sort of oddly, but they're sacred, so it's a lot lower upkeep. And in any case, I just need math of my blood hunting mages at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
and so I'm setting up a few blood hunting provinces, that kind of thing,
mhm,
and trying to site search nature with my shamans now that I have those. But yeah, I think like I have the option right now that I could probably like kill most of my neighbors in a 1v1 fight. But I think like my better play is to just you know
yeah,
tight and just continue enjoying the economy. Like if you look, I have 5,500 gold a turn.
right.
It's so much gold, and
Yeah, I would.
uh,
I mean, personally, one of the reasons I don't turn rush is kind of what you were articulating. Like, I like playing the game. You know, like why end it when it's just starting to get good? The second thing is, I think especially like you're in a good position. I think you have a better chance of winning by just playing the game than you do by doing
yeah,
some really risky throne play. Which,
yeah,
I mean, who
um,
knows what happens when you try to throne rush? You get mono dropped, you get all sorts of crazy shit. You know?
yeah, yeah. I probably get that
Yeah, that Neefle Duke.
Utgard Titan,
Yeah.
to come and to give me a bad day.
And then people are going to beat you down pretty far if they don't kill you, you know? So I think there's a few ways to
Um,
think about it. Like last time when we were talking about it, we were saying, okay, you eat Bogarus, and then the next war you have will be your last war because at that point you'll be big enough to fight off a coalition. Um, so if you eat one more player decisively, and we were looking like, hey, that player's probably a Gartha because they are kind of big, and it would give you like a north to south connection, so like less surface area. And then you pretty easily transition to fighting like Zabalba Patala
yeah,
while defending against Gath and Utgard. And then it's over.
mhm,
And so in that way, it's like, okay, well, let's aim for a timing, maybe in like 15 turns from now, to like conquer Gath in about as many turns as it took us to conquer Bogarus. So
mhm,
that's one thing. We can go in that direction. If we're doing that direction, the thing we were talking about last episode with like making a play to run up Thaumaturgy, trying to control Galegate, control Dark Skies, that's not really what we want to do. I mean, we could do that, but the thing is, we're going to be aggressive. We'll be fighting out of our dominion. Dark Skies not going to help that much.
yeah,
So, but that's one way to do it. And I think that's a pretty solid way to win the game. Have whoever it is, it could be Micklin, it could be Patala. You just plan for 15, 10 to 12 to 15 turns from now. You build up, you get your infrastructure done, you eat them as quickly as you can. You don't attack anybody else. But if everybody's smart after that, they'll declare war on you because you'll be too big. And then, but you'll be ready to fight them, right? Because you'll have the war with Patala will be over, or Agartha will be over. So you could take those armies and mobilize them by the time the naps tick down.
right.
Uh,
So one of the things that I'm doing logistically, so all of my provinces that make crossbows are on that southern row of 4 provinces at the south of my empire. So I'm doing a lot of mass producing crossbows there and then sort of marching them to other borders because I want to have the option of using them in battles elsewhere.
mhm.
It's like a little bit of logistic. I'm mostly maxing out mage recruitment to the extent possible because this nation has really good mages, and that's one of the things that even with all the ports that I have, you just can't speed up anymore.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing worth looking at is my gem stocks and gem income. So I'm definitely aiming to put up Eternal Pyre because I've already got 20 fire income.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And so, I could do a 200 cast in, 4 turns. And then after that, I'll have stocks to go to war, or I could decide that, with my nature gems, I want to try and do Mother Oak. But I think it's sort of interesting. Like if I want to control Mother Oak, I probably need to do like 150 cast of it because there's, that Utgard Pretender can definitely cast it, and they can easily site search nature. So, it's sort of risky because it might be a 150 gem investment that doesn't really yield
Yeah.
much.
I wouldn't do that. I think you're better off just
Whereas, just
securing some
having
really good nature mages, you know?
exactly like having, I might have enough just for my land nature gem income to win the wars I needed to win.
One thing to think about is there's a great nature spell if you decide to run up to Thaumaturgy, which is what you need for
Yeah,
Galegate, which is called the Worm That
and the box
Walks.
is
So
fantastic.
I think like going maybe to here is like, of course, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And with this, you'll probably be set up to win a lot of wars in like 10 turns. I think after that, you have a bit of a decision point, right? And the decision point, so I think you prepare for a war in 10 turns against one of your neighbors. with the idea that if you're successful in persecuting it, then you just steamroll the rest of the game and win. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, you could win the next war, or you could even not choose to have it. Maybe just do a little small vulturing rather than a decisive kill because one of your neighbors is dying.
Yeah.
You do a little small vulturing. If you want to transition into a late game, so you have the option, basically what I'm saying is for like a mid-game victory. If you want to
Mhm.
transition to the late game victory, you would maybe do some vulturing. You don't go and attack and eat your next player. And instead what you do is you run up Thaumaturgy and you go for Galegate, Dark Skies, start getting
Yeah.
Call the Worms that Walk, and you start just spamming forts and temples. One thing you could
Mhm.
look at doing is running up after Thom 8, you run up Construction, you get the Alchemy Stones, and you're already
Yeah.
controlling Eternal Pyre. You start turning all your fire gems with the Alchemy Stone into gold, and you use all
Mhm.
that gold to put forts and temples in your land. You can
Yeah.
potentially, it's far cheaper to take fire gems with the Alchemy Stone, turn them into gold, and build forts that way than it is to do something like Earth Tower with Alteration.
Yeah, or the blood tower even.
Right. And right, you can make a play to, get blood. But if you take this time and you get forted up and you get your temples everywhere, which by the way, that's going to give you enough temples, you're going to get bonus fire to come from too. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you a huge amount of dominion pressure. And that combined
Yeah.
with what we said was the win condition for you, which is you put up
Mhm.
Galegate for a while, and then when you're ready, like maybe this is you don't put up Dark Skies, by the way, casually, right? You put it up when the
Yeah.
shit's hitting the fan. Like when you're about to be in a very important war. So you can
Well, ideally, when somebody has just moved, their big doom stack onto one of my forts, and I can put it up, and then Willing wins the army and try to cut off its retreat, and sort of get a free win off of it the turn I cast it.
yeah. I mean, you can do that too. I mean, you could also just do it when, hey, this war's about to start, so I'm going to go ahead and cast it. It's also going to make, dark vision's going to become more important. So,
Mhm.
because it gives you like the light darkness every battle.
And that's actually one reason I put dark vision on my light vision on my blast. I didn't want to do a death blast. I couldn't do
Right.
spirit sight, but I want my mages to still be able to hit things.
So, but if you go the route of Eternal Pyre into forting up with alchemy, that means after you finish this, you probably go ahead and get Galegate because that's going to lock you into doing like
Mhm.
a 600 gem Dark Skies, which is game winning.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, after that, you run up Construction 8, figure out what other artifacts you want. There's a bunch of good artifacts.
Mhm.
And then start just turning all that massive fire income you've got into forts and temples. You'll have so much dominion pressure. By the time you are ready to like just kill somebody, you're just doing like small vulturing stuff. By the time you're ready to kill somebody, your dominion will be pushing over the edge in all of your provinces. And as your birds come through and they start like knocking out, and like the only way people are going to be able to fight your dominion is have people preaching. So you start
Yeah, and you can kill
birding
the
all the
preachers.
preachers, right? And then you start
Yeah.
knocking out the forts that are putting, like have temples. Like what will happen is that's going to be like just breaking the dam. And once you have like your land completely full of temples, as the dam breaks, like your dominion's just going to pour through. And then it's like every gain you get is permanent because people are going to have to attack into Dark Skies, Wailing Winds, which is really hard for a lot of nations to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like the long way to win. The main difference
I
is how
suspect
long do
that
you
this game
turn.
won't quite make it all the way to that. I think, but I think it's worth having sort of a cascading series of plans. Like once I have Eternal Pyre up, there's a lot you can do with 40 fire gems a turn,
Right.
to really make it just hard to conquer you,
Right. Yeah, I mean, you do
And,
flaming.
and then I can, while doing that war, save up the air gems for the Galegate play, if I don't manage to win by then, and just keep on adding sort of these layers of additional threats.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
cool. Yeah. So thanks so much for sharing this with us.
thanks for doing this. It's been a lot of fun.
Looks like you're deep into position one. And yeah, I would probably get rid of this throne. It kind of conflicts with It's gonna make people organize.
Exactly,
That's what you
exactly,
don't want, is you don't want people to organize until you eat one more player.
exactly. So,
So, cool. Well, we'll see you next time and see what you've gotten up to.
see y'all.
Take care.